Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. It is me, your managing editor for WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am now every afternoon. It's our good friend, Michael Wiseman. Michael, welcome to the new and improved 5 p.m. Eastern Wrestling Inc. Daily News Block.
I love the fact that it's new and improved. I'm very confused by the good afternoon, and it's good. This is going to take some getting used to, Nick. I don't know that I like it yet.
Yeah, we gotta make ourselves feel comfortable here, right? We gotta wear this thing like a warm sweater here is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make this new time slot ours, Michael. We're gonna get to you. We're gonna learn to love it. That's what we're gonna do here, Michael.
I love the positivity. I think we've just got to shorten the number of syllables. Like morning is too, like we got to go like good after or just good noon. No, nah.
Good noon, everybody. Hey,
That's what I used to do.
I don't hate good noon. I don't hate good noon. Well, of course, I'm here. Michael's here. The chat room is open, just like always, to Pro For You Games. Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. A lot of that was misspelled, but that's cool. Welcome to the party. Samantha, welcome back. Welcome to the party, right? Keith George, yay. Welcome to the Pokemon Inc. Daily, Jack Farmer style. I do love Pokemon. That's not a secret really anymore. And maybe it'll come up.
I love the energy too. I do feel like, right? Lunchtime is a great, I mean, it's my lunchtime on the East Coast when we do the noon one, but the evening podcast right now, we're not in the late night post-show podcast that you will get later on in Wrestling Inc. But this afternoon time slot for us, we get some more good vibes from y'all. You've ended your work day, ready to have a beer. This is the Wrestling Inc. happy hour, and I'm happy to be here.
I like the Wrestling Inc. happy hour, and it's gonna drive me to drink an hour earlier than I usually do. But hey, YOLO, we'll see how this thing goes, right? Man, some great write-ins here. Pollo Del Mar, what's up? New time, who dis? You know who dis. We'll see you on Thursday, Pollo. Rob Humphrey, new start time has me all messed up. And my favorite chat so far, a super chat. My cats, Messi and Maya, would like to say good meowing to you guys. They love Wrestling Inc. pretty much. Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you, Myron. Really appreciate that.
That's the greatest comment we've ever had on this show. That one right there.
Hey, animal pet talk, always welcome on the show. So we got a lot of news to get to here, like a lot of news. We're going to try to get through it all here in about a half hour or so. But before we get to that, I want to first start off with a couple things. Our good friend Kylie Ray, of course, I'm here in Chicago. I had the privilege to call a lot of Kylie Ray's matches here in the Chicagoland area. Well, she's once again going to be taking some time off to deal with some personal stuff, some mental health stuff. I know that there's already a lot of things that are being said because Kylie's left before and come back. And honestly, I hope she comes back again here too. But just want to send my best out to Kylie, send our best out to Kylie. Awesome person, performer, and just thinking about her to start the day here, Michael.
100%. Mental health is not always convenient, unfortunately. So you need to take care of yourself. It affects everybody differently. And alcohol, she mentions in there. Hopefully those things can impact your mental health as well. Get all that under control. Great talent. Look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Absolutely. And we want to say congratulations to Corey Graves and Carmella, who are now officially engaged. The beautiful people have come together and will become one and shoot into space. I think that's what happens when you get married. I don't know.
We just need some like soundboard effects now. We can play the old SmackDown beautiful people Marilyn Manson theme from back in the 2000s.
Totally. I think about that. I think about that way too much. The fact that used to be the theme and is not the theme anymore, but it should be the theme. I mean, like an inordinate amount of time I spent thinking about that.
And the fist?
Yeah, and the fist. And I think about that fist all the time. That fist, let the bodies hit the floor. All right. So speaking of bodies hit the floor, we got a great conversation here later on after the news. You're going to hear me talk to deathmatch legend Matt Tremont. Matt, the Bulldozer, is going to be taking on Onita in a double hell current blast death match this Sunday night, Halloween night. There's landmines involved. There's like a lot of explosions involved. It's Onita. If you saw the Dark Side of the Ring episode about FMW,
Yep.
What an absolute madman. And I love this talk. Really good talk with Matt. It's already up in video form over on our YouTube channel. You can go check it out there as well. And, of course, at the end of the show for everybody, we'll dive to the mailbag. We're going to look at who you think is currently the best women's wrestler in the world. But without further ado, news you can use, news that will leave a bruise. And, yes, who is the best women's wrestler in the world? that is kind of the crux of easily the biggest news story of the past 72-hour cycle. Everybody weighing in with different news items and opinions about the controversy coming out of the main event of SmackDown, where Charlotte and Becky were supposed to exchange and swap their titles. So PW Insider, start us off here. First to report, they're saying, when Flair and Lynch returned backstage after the exchange, there were, quote, loud words between the two, end quote, over Flair allegedly disrespecting Lynch by trying to make her look bad during the segment. It was noted that the situation was heated. It did not get physical. The issue arose after both women reportedly went off script during their in-ring segment with Sonya Deville. There was a moment where Flair was to hand over the belt to Lynch, but instead she pulled it away. She threw the belt to the mat. The exchange was supposed to go differently. Report added Sasha Banks got everything back on track when she came out. But prior to the show, Flair had voiced concerns about the idea of a segment featuring her and Lynch trading championship belts. She made it clear she didn't want to look weak, nor did she want her title reign to look weak. And despite those concerns, her segment with Lynch still continued on as planned. So before we get into more kind of like the nitty gritty, who did what backstage and when, what did it seem weird to you when you were watching SmackDown? What played out, Michael?
I mean, this was in my opinion, a terrible segment idea anyway. You have two world champion women wrestlers in the ring, both with belts. Just swap the names, swap the titles. Having somebody hand a belt to somebody else and saying this is the Raw and SmackDown, I think we're a little bit past that. So the segment felt contrived. You have a team of creative writers, and this is the best you could come up with. That bothered me. So when I see it play out in real time, I'm like, at least there's a little bit of intrigue here, right? Like when you watch this segment, it has this sense of like, yeah, a little bit of realism, but you can tell it feels a little bit more than just, oh, here's a belt, right? And I was happy about that. And then I found out all of this and I was like, oh, no wonder it felt a little bit real.
Yeah, it felt over real, but like, I mean, I'm kind of in the camp that like, yeah, let's make some, chicken salad out of, chicken shit kind of situation here, right? You got a pretty bland premise, Yep. Charlotte's obviously unhappy about it. Reality took over. I see Skull 2626. You're saying I smell a work. I always smell a work, right? All the Nia Jax stuff. But like, then it gets really weird, right? Then there's all these other details. So strap in. So Talk Sports saying behind the scenes, Lynch and Charlotte have a strained relationship. Charlotte wasn't a fan of being called plastic in a promo a couple years ago, and I guess things have been tense ever since. Now back at the gorilla position where Vince McMahon was, Charlotte walked through the room and didn't talk to Vince about what happened. Vince was described as being not happy with that move. And she apparently was heading towards Orlando to be at AEW Dynamite, but she was not at Dynamite. Whether or not she was in Orlando, I don't really know. But she did go to the show. She didn't show that level of disrespect to Vince and Kennedy McMahon, but still, that's some BD energy right there. I don't know.
I mean, how do you ignore the boss, right? This reminds me a lot of like back in the day. It did feel like in today's world, Vince McMahon, he runs the roost. It's his company. He's got final say and everything. There's much more of that kind of top down. There are certain parameters you go through, as opposed to back in the day, the wrestlers could do things like this and express their opinion. And Charlotte feels like she's got a little bit of that old school edge to her. Her father's Ric Flair. He kind of did his own thing. She knows how big of a name she is. Most interesting to me about this, though, is that she wasn't a fan of Becky Lynch calling her plastic. And I just want to say, is your ego really that fragile at this point?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. The answer is yes. The answer is obviously yes, right? Hey, look, there's things that, I had a nickname in my childhood that it didn't like. I stuck with it. I'm not going to tell you what it is because then everybody's going to go crazy with it on Twitter. But like, I had a nickname as a child I didn't like, and it sticks with me, and I know who's responsible for it, and I'll get you. I don't want to say their name.
Threats being thrown out on the first ever happy hour. It's the happy hour, Nick, not the threatening hour. Jesus.
All right, sorry. That did come across the ground. But that's the thing, is like you get these things said to you, and they hurt. They can hurt, right? Words hurt. Right?
I believe that, Nick, but the thing is if that happens in a promo, number one, I don't know their backstage, but if a friend says that, like not that you're always best friends with your friends and you never have conflict, but you address it, for that to hang over them for years, right? That's surprising to me. Especially when you're Charlotte, you're the biggest dog I think WWE has in their opinion, right?
Yeah. So, and like, yeah, just like not even looking Vince in the face. Yeah. So, anyway, Fightful saying Charlotte was asked to leave during Lynch's dark match to avoid any other problems. PW Insider saying she was escorted out by a WWE official. And here's the thing. So, tomorrow we're going to have on the show Jimmy Corderas. Always love Jimmy Corderas, right? He's seen and done everything in WWE. I asked him about it. I wish I had the clip I could play right now, but I was like, yeah, the Charlottes got escorted out by an official. Like, how rare is that for a top star? And he's like, well, he's like, not common now because the dynamic has changed. But like, I guess this was like not an infrequent thing back in the Attitude Era when you had these guys or women that were just he used Shawn and Brett as an example, or there were a couple times where you wanted to make sure people were, and respectively given their spaces, right? And so, I mean, maybe they just don't have to call the play as often anymore. But I guess it's not unusual for them to be like, all right, Sean Daivari, take care of this, whatever it may be.
I guess, and again, I said this a second ago that Charlotte Flair sometimes feels like an old school talent. Obviously, she's influenced by her father. She knows what he went through in his career, which is a very different time. And it feels like she brings a little bit of that to pro wrestling here in 2021, because ignoring Vince is not something I see a lot of talents doing, and taking promos personally. Again, I love a good edgy promo, don't get me wrong, but we also know the business is a lot more open now than it was 20 years ago, where the line was a lot more blurred. So Charlotte taking it so personally and having to be escorted as a result feels like something from 20, 30 years ago, not 2021, right? So
yeah.
strange.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, so back to what happened here. So Talk Sport here saying Charlotte, she left Gorilla without talking to Vince, like confirming he was unhappy about that. So the heat on Charlotte is partly for disrespecting Lynch, but also for pulling the attention of the segment in the wrong direction. WWE is looking to build up Charlotte versus Sasha and felt what happened undermined Banks, which I 100% agree with. Since there was no physicality, Lynch doesn't have any heat and is seen as someone who was protecting themselves after being pushed too far. The report continued that Charlotte was very upset afterwards, and some wonder if this is what prompted Andrade El Idolo's FU WWE tweet that went out within the hour of all of this happening. Oh, you think? I don't know. Let me put my Sherlock Holmes hat on. Yeah, deduce.
I mean, he did have a banger of a match with Neville Friday night that, I mean, if you want to say it, that was a match that never would have happened in WWE. So maybe it was that.
Okay, Watson. Sure. Yeah, I'll take that into account as well. So in regards to Charlotte's WWE contract, she has years left on her deal, and it's unlikely for WWE to grant a release to someone they consider to be important. And, like, that's the thing is Charlotte, like, what is the game here, right? Is she just unhappy? So she's just going to make everybody unhappy? Or is it, I'm going to make everybody miserable and hate working with me so I can get fired, hurrah, and go to AEW and make money over there and be with my husband,
It's hard to say, right? And listen, she is the premier women's wrestler in WWE. I love Becky Lynch, and I think Becky Lynch main evented WrestleMania, did all the things, right? I think Bayley, Sasha Banks have done so many phenomenal things, but WWE loves Charlotte Flair. They've seen time and time again. She was put into the mix with Becky Lynch, even though she didn't need to be, because they wanted to put her in there and have the Flair name. So she obviously means something to this company in a pretty major way. I look at this segment Friday night on its own, and I see all the reactions in here, and I'm like, we're going to talk about Sonya Deville and her reaction in a second. I look at Becky Lynch getting pissed off, all of those things, and I'm like, on its own, this one segment does not speak that much to me as being that terrible of a thing, because it was just, she dropped the belt, she pulled it away. There was a little bit of just, we're going to have some fun in here, right? But when you look at the pattern of behavior, we know there was stuff between her and Nia Jax earlier this year. We know that there's been some other things. She said things, she's posted things that have been a little bit dicey. You start feeling like, to your point, that maybe she's just not happy. She's stuck in a long-term contract, and I maybe she hopes she'll get fired. But Nick, they're not going to fire her. They would send her home for 3 years and just pay out her contract. They're not going to let her go to AEW.
Dude, like, I don't know, man. Like, wrestling is weird, right? Because, like, at the end of the day, if the right winds hit Vince McMahon and he's just like, you know what, cut bait, get out. She's getting too weird. she's saying stuff I don't want said. She's not signing the things I need her to sign that make her stop saying these things. And so it's becoming a liability, whatever. I mean, like, that thing is how far, if you really like, how far will you push it? Right.
Sure.
And make yourself something that is, a liability to the company, perhaps,
I mean, is she probably the top, I mean, outside of Ronda Rousey, the top paid women's wrestler in the company, we would guess?
Oh, I would guess. Yeah. Maybe Becky sold a lot of merchandise. That whole, the man merch, but then they turned her heel because, let's do Joker style, light the money on fire. Whatever.
Well, that's the other argument too here then, right? Is that maybe they would, because I mean, 2 years ago they weren't going to do it because they were grabbing up talent from all over the indies and they're going to pay whatever. But now we've seen it with Nick Khan. They're going to try to save as much money and influence that investor price. Let's pump it up, right? If she's in a lofty contract, I could see them wanting to cut it to save some of that, back end.
So, you talk about Sonya Deville. PW Insider here saying she was said to be mad enough to want to fight Charlotte at one point. Deville and Flair also had an argument backstage at the arena. Lynch's argument with Flair was said to have been loud and angry, with Lynch described as standing up for herself after being disrespected. The blame for the situation has fallen on Flair for the most part, with several people claiming the situation started after Flair made it clear she felt the segment made her and her title reign look weak. There have also been several alleged instances where Flair's behavior has led to issues in recent months, including the recent legitimate back and forth in the ring with Nia Jax. Now, the criticism of Flair is that she's being self-indulgent towards protecting herself and making sure that all the attention is on her. But one source not close to Flair stated, okay, let's be on it. That's what stars do. They make sure their star power remains the same or greater. There are a number of people in WWE keeping their eyes on her to see what's going to happen and how she handles herself when she gets to Friday's SmackDown in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Flair and Lynch likely won't cross paths until WWE storylines call for it in Survivor Series storylines next month. So that's everything. That's all of it there. And wow, she's certainly made herself the center of attention. That's for sure.
I mean, maybe we're working ourselves into a shoot, brother, and we're shooting ourselves into a work. I don't know. There is money on the table now, I think, for Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. The question is, with them being on different brands, you're not really building towards it other than Survivor Series. And will it really matter at that point? Who knows? I don't disagree with Charlotte here. Just maybe I'm the guy in the room who's being a little bit of a contrarian. I think this was a stupid segment. And I think two champions handing the championship off they've been defending, if you were to tell me that I'm the world champion and there's an equal world champion over there, and I'm going to go give them if I'm a fighter, my belt means more because I'm a more badass fighter and I've been defending it against better competition. That's what I believe. So I agree with her. This does make her look weak. It makes the championship look weak.
Yeah.
So, but the problem is when you're a controversial character and you kind of report to the man, and by that I mean Vince McMahon, your argument doesn't really, you can't really go that route, I guess.
I feel like, it's like, do we even need the segment, right? Can you just put out a tweet that's like, hey, this happened backstage and it's over, on to the next business of the time? Maybe not, I don't know. Look, they absolutely have to pay this off at Survivor Series. How do you do this and not with all the publicity and buzz and who's thinking about Charlotte Sasha Banks right now? What? Come on now.
And that's the thing that kills me, Nick. You never had to do this, and you could have done a champion. Well, there's a lot of ways you could have handled it, but I will say this, right? We're looking at all this controversy. Coming out of this, the silver lining is a Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch match. Man, that can mean a lot, and that could make your Survivor Series card that much more interesting with a little bit of realism in it. Or if you don't do that, though, how do you get the belt out? If you're pissed off at Charlotte, you sent her home Friday night. She's your champion. How do you get the championship off of her?
It's a great question. Hey, we're going to find out. We're going to see what they're going to do here. We're going to see what they're going to do. Well, also on SmackDown, Brock Lesnar came back, murdered everybody, attacked Adam Pearce as Roman Reigns ran away to fight another day, and it's now been suspended indefinitely. I'm wondering, do we get Brock Lesnar back at the Rumble? Brock Lesnar murders 29 men. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns set up for WrestleMania. I mean, it's similar to things we've seen in the past, but it all feels different now. I don't know.
The Paul Heyman element, the story, the way characters are positioned makes it feel different. But I guess I'm kind of in the camp of we've seen Brock Lesnar get suspended to keep him off TV for a few months because he's not under contract. And we're just a little bit over it. We're biding time until the next time these two behemoths clash. And I think the problem I have with it is now, between now and then, Roman Reigns is going to defend his championship, but it just feels like we know he's going to win because we're waiting on Brock Lesnar again. That's what they want to build towards, right?
And that's what I'm wondering too, right? Like, is Drew McIntyre going to be the filler guy here? Like, he just heated up Big E. Now he's going to go heat up Roman Reigns again. I thought there was a chance they would put the belt on Brock just because, like, I want to see a turn for Roman here. Like, I mean, it is getting a little bit packaged, right? Like at the presentation, the 5-minute entrance at the open every show, the knowledge that you're probably going to see him be dominant over somebody. I feel like it is time for some kind of twist, whether it's getting the belt off of him or I'm not really sure, but I'm ready for something different to happen right now.
I just think you could have, I don't want to pile a hot potato with the title, but like if Brock would have won, you could have used Paul Heyman in that role and it doesn't make Roman look weak. And then Roman has to kind of like, there's an opportunity for him to fight back into this, but Roman just, I mean, I don't want to see him lose because he's been so dominant and he's been the best thing WWE's produced in a while, but make him lose the title. We've just got to have something different other than seeing him cut the same promo every week on SmackDown.
We'll have some updates here on NXT talent moving to the main roster. All this comes from PW Insider. So regarding Hit Row, word is that Top Dollar AJ Francis is going to be pushed as a single superstar. Ashanti the Adonis and Isaiah Swerve Scott, they're going to be used as a tag team. They're going to remain together as a group with B-Fab, Brianna Brandy, apparently working in the women's division. I know a lot of people kind of up in arms the fact that AJ Francis is now going to be the single centerpiece other than Swerve, but how do you feel about it, Michael?
It's main roster. That's what I feel about it. I mean, I think that Swerve we've seen what great work Swerve can do down in NXT, and I loved it, but they want the big guy as their behemoth fighting for the championship. But I mean, let's be clear though. AJ Francis has not been wrestling that long. It's only been a few years, 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, but he's a former NFL player, right? He did that WWE merch show or Hidden Treasures show or whatever. He was always on the road. He was served as host of that. So he's like ingrained. Like I think Hunter or Vince or somebody really likes this guy, A, and B, dude, he ate the Young Bucks lunch at a time when WWE is trying desperately to look cool. They got one win. It was this guy. They got 2 wins. They got Roman, and then they got AJ Francis.
Yeah, that's fair. And here's my bigger thing, though. This could work, and I like this idea of the trio staying together, right? Like, I think we broke apart the New Day in some weird way, and I think if Big E was still there with Kofi and Xavier, I think it could mean just as much with him being champion, celebrating with his friends. So my hope is they keep this group together. WWE doesn't like to keep trios together like this, but I think that trios can work, and when you have a group that has chemistry like Hit Row does, let's keep it going, and let's give them all a chance to shine, much like we have with the Bloodline right now.
Yeah, agreed. Well, also we know, according to PW Insider, WWE, they split up the team of Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart in the draft. Now word is Shotzi's going to be heel on SmackDown. Nox is going to remain a babyface. Xia Li, babyface on SmackDown. Mia Yim is going to work as a babyface on Raw. And there are now plans for a new team, not really a new team, but before Apollo Crews, he was working with Aziz as his muscle. Now it looks like those two could be working together formally as like a tag team, much like Omos and AJ Styles. I honestly, if this is all true and they see it through, all of this sounds fine to me. I'm gonna miss Xia Li as not like as a scary evil badass, but I get the draw, right? So
talent all around, and I think Xia Li can play either role. That's what a talented individual can do. But I'm glad that we have plans for these individuals as we bring them up. That's the bigger call out to me. And I even especially like the Apollo Crews Commander Aziz tag team element. Aziz has been great as muscle, but making them some kind of team together. Crews has done the singles thing for a while. I think this will be better for both men and give Aziz a deeper chance to get exposure and work and all that stuff.
Fair enough. All right. And lastly here, before we get to Matt Tremont, if you're in audio form and stick around in video form, we got the mailbag we'll dive into real briefly. But Ringside News reporting something that I've been hearing as well, which is that the current partnership between AEW and Impact ended after Bound for Glory. No specifics given as it concerns talent that has crossed over to each promotion, but talent sharing looks to be done for now after Bound for Glory. I did see it's noticeable, like Gallows and Anderson not on AEW TV right now. The title got flipped off of Cage to Josh and on to Moose, I suppose. I think that if Tony Khan, for whatever reason, buys up Impact's archives to flesh out his platform or create DVDs or whatever, it'll be a nice little period, I guess, they can kind of reference to. But in the long run, I guess, this was all just like a Kenny Omega vanity project, right? Like Kenny wanted to do this thing, and they were like, "You're a good soldier for not taking the title up top," and that's this whole fever dream was just a Kenny Omega vanity project, which is like, it's just what it is, right?
Kenny Omega and Don Callis, we should say, and it seems like in some
Don's right. Part of the vanity project. Don's, if Kenny didn't want it, Don wouldn't be there. I don't think that,
Oh, man. In some weird way, Christian got a rub off of this and got a run with the Impact Championship. So it's kind of a strange, I think you're right. Who benefited from this the most? Kenny Omega. I think at certain points, Impact got a little bit off of it. I think at a few points, AEW managed to get a little bit out of it as well. So it's just kind of a weird thing. It's overdue that it needs to come to an end. I think the biggest disappointment is we didn't get Jay Lethal popping into AEW from Impact via that partnership there. But I will say this.
Impact, Jay's with Ring of Honor now, isn't he?
Not Jay White. I'm sorry. I did not mean to say Jay Lethal. Apologies. Misspeaking there.
You got the New Japan relationship. Jay White
yes.
Ain't going nowhere. Okay.
But I think in my mind, Jay White showed up at Impact. We're going to see Jay White on AEW as part of this exchange, but it didn't happen that way. So we'll wait for the New Japan version of this.
Well, and we could see New Japan leverage Impact as their new North American buddy. That's, I don't know. They got Suzuki. It's not like Tony Khan. Look, Tony Khan's very protective of it. I'm not saying the relationship's going away, right? But does this give like them an opportunity to find another North American dancing partner? That's I guess.
I guess maybe, but does it really do that much God bless Impact Wrestling and what they're doing right now? Does it really do much for any organization? The cards play as they play, right? Maybe Ring of Honor partners with Impact and we get something weird there. Bigger deal to me, Nick, not on our news sheet here. We talk about the Saturday pay-per-view. I am just excited. Slate of pay-per-views announced for WWE next year. Saturday night pay-per-views are back in, baby. They're back in.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't really feel a way either way about it, but yeah, I guess it'll make my travels. I get back. I have Sundays, been with my girlfriend. That's actually kind of okay.
Yeah, man. Right. Sleep in.
Pro new schedule.
I don't know why I had to get that plug in there. I was just really excited that WWE announced Saturday night pay-per-views, and my segue was beautiful. So there you go.
Fair enough. All right. Hey, Michael, I want to thank you for joining me at Top Show to talk all the news today. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Join the comment section. Of course, thank you to Matt Tremont. This Sunday night, Halloween, it goes down. Double Hell Current Blast Death Match. Matt Tremont versus Onita. It's going to be on IWTV. Go check it out. And thank you so much to Tremont for that interview. And if you want to watch it, it's over on the Wrestling YouTube channel right now. We're really tight on time, so I'm just going to read the results, and I'm going to get your take, Mike. Who is this? Is all at Wink Daily, WINC Daily. That's the account to follow if you want to vote in the daily polls. Who is the best female pro wrestler in the world at the moment? Is it Charlotte, Bianca Belair, Britt Baker, or somebody else? Over 400 votes here. 29-6 Britt, 26-2 Charlotte, 25-7 Bianca Belair, and 18-5 somebody else. A really, really even spread. Really even.
So Britt won this poll.
Yeah, Britt Baker barely edging out Charlotte by a couple percentage points. Yeah.
I wonder how it would have played out if Becky Lynch had been one of the options. I don't argue with the ones you put on there. You can only put in so many, but it's interesting. Here's what I think it is. I love Britt Baker. I think she's great for AEW. I think she's a very big fish in a much smaller pond over there. My argument is we're kind of parsing it. All of these women are talented. I think Bianca Belair is the youngest and has the most upside remaining. And I think Britt Baker's got unlimited potential as well, but Charlotte Flair is the name. I look at this poll, controversy aside, the legacy, the name, the title runs, the platform, she's got it all.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with Charlotte Flair right now, mostly because she's paying my bills with everything that she does. Yeah, so but I think it is really telling how well Britt did here and just how highly fans think of her in this moment. And, maybe that's the thing. Maybe Charlotte sees what Britt's doing right now and is like, hey, she hasn't found the right dancing partner yet. Like, she's great, but is like, you're only as good as your Roddy Piper. And can she be that Roddy Piper to really, can her and Britt make some more money together that she can make, she thinks, with like a Becky or Sasha right now, who we've seen her work with a whole bunch,
Well, and you have pay-per-view buy rates that play out differently, I'm sure, for wrestlers and how they get paid over in AEW. But you look at like Britt Baker has created her own space in AEW, and she has defined that women's division in a way that it had not been defined before. Charlotte Flair, I'm sure, sees the opportunity to build something brand new like she did in NXT, like they did on the main roster. If Charlotte Flair goes over there, it changed. No offense to any woman on that roster, it changes the landscape of women's professional wrestling in a heartbeat.
All right, everybody. Well, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Brand new 5 p.m. Eastern start time here for the Wrestling Inc. Daily, Monday through Friday. You can subscribe to us on your preferred podcast platform as well to get the full show with the interviews. If you like what you see here or you hear here, go over to our iTunes page, leave a nice review, a nice comment. That stuff helps us move up the chartable tracks, which is very important and means everything to me. And so I need your help. And I'm a desperate man for iTunes reviews. I'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, I'll be joined by Jimmy Corderas, EJ Cameron, who I saw just premiere the brand new Second City ETC review last night. It was banger. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. EJ, Jimmy Corderas here tomorrow. WrestlingInc.com. Support that. We're on all the socials. And of course, the Wrestling Inc. podcast, a lot like this, only at night after the big shows, including tonight after Raw. Mike, what do you want to put over here to wrap up the show today?
A lot of fun. I'll be in hand with my beer next time so we can make this a real happy hour. But no, I am on Twitter at The Real Wiseman. Just give me a shout out on there and let us know if you like the new hour, I guess. Do you like 5 o'clock is what I'm asking you. So go with that.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So yeah, I guess Michael wants me to drink 5 days a week starting at 4 o'clock, and I'll consider it. So, and by the way, Dave N, you're right. Chartable tracks equal life. That's true. Pro wrestling is life. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I will talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.